I actually learnt it when I went over there. Not the Kiwi one, but there was a high school that I worked at as well. I mucked in with the lads and they taught me how to do it. They taught me how to lead it as well, which was quite unusual because being a pom and all. And they actually did it for me when I left as well. The whole school stood there. I stood in the middle of the big school, old-fashioned school building while the whole school did it for me. I was quite emotional about that. And although I'm not a Kiwi, I have connections to New Zealand.
Tom, obviously England are touring back to New Zealand this summer. Somewhere you went as an 18-year-old. Can you talk a bit about why you made that decision, why you decided to take yourself over to New Zealand to play rugby?
I guess if you were studying to do any other profession, you'd go to the best university you could, and that's the way I saw New Zealand at the time. I was in an academy setup, one that I hugely valued and one that was a big step into getting me where I am now. You do a lot of weightlifting, a lot of training, you're taught discipline and how to be determined and committed. But I felt I needed actual game time out there on the field, particularly amongst men, which it was a challenge as an 18-year-old, particularly with some other Polynesians down there. And I felt that was kind of the making of me as a player, really. When you're out there a long way from home, you can't call on your dad to bail you out every 2 minutes if anything goes wrong. So, from that sense, I grew up a lot as a bloke, which I think is a big step. Rugby-wise, I had to be very intrinsically motivated and motivate myself in terms of getting myself to the gym. Because there's no structured sessions, there's no full-time job. I had to work and earn my own money as well as play my rugby. And I guess what I wanted to get back in my game was that in an academy life, when you're a young lad and you've given all this fancy kit and a structure to work to, and you're in, day out, to some extent it can become a chore, it can become a job, and I don't like seeing rugby as that. It's still a passion for me, it's still something I really enjoy doing and do because I love it. And having to manage a full-time job as well as play the games was a big part of what I got out of there. It really gets the love for rugby over there. Well, much like amateur rugby here, you work all day and then rugby is your outlet. It's you go and train on Tuesday, Thursday night and you look forward to it and you play your games and have a beer afterwards, and it's your getaway from your daily grind, whereas when it's your job and you do it day in, day out, perspective changes slightly, I suppose.
What was the standard of rugby like? Was it an eye-opening experience?
Yeah, I turned up. I actually got off the plane on the Thursday afternoon. I went and trained the Thursday evening, pretty jet lagged, and yeah, I had a run around and I couldn't believe the skill level. What I was told was a very local sort of amateur level, a first stepping stone really into where I was hoping to go. The skill level, the pace of the game, the flair they had in that session was unbelievable, and I guess I put the fact that I was off the pace down to jet lag and said I'll be better next week. And I also turned up to my first game that Saturday and I was on the bench, and I think they scored one of the best tries I've ever seen. And I was stood there sort of with my jaw on the floor thinking, blimey, never mind the Otago team, I'm not going to make this local team, which is Valley I played for in Oamaru. Just their ability to play with the ball. Guys that weren't huge physical specimens amongst some very big Polynesians, still being able to ride tackles, take the ball to the line, make good decisions, and all those kind of things were something I really sort of thrived in.
How did they take to an Englishman? Were there many others out there at your age?
I got my fair stick as Tom the Pom out there for a while, and I enjoyed it as all part of it. And again, if it's part of being in a rugby environment, I'm sure you get that wherever you went.
What do you think is special about rugby in New Zealand? Why do they take it so dear to their heart?
I guess it is part of daily life over there. Everybody knows about it. People in the town knew who I was, not because I was English or anything else, but because I was hoping to play for North Otago. Whilst it's still professional and they're very determined to succeed in rugby, they still have the values from the amateur era. As much as rugby means to them, and as hard as they prepare and as desperate as they are to win on game day, afterwards is very much a togetherness. Have a beer with the opposition. Let whatever went on the field stay on the field, and enjoy the evening and enjoy being part of the rugby culture over there. And that's something I really enjoyed as well. Because I used to beat myself up a little bit as a kid if I missed a tackle, didn't give a pass when I should, dropped a ball that I shouldn't have. I'd spend some time beating myself up, and they would very quickly forgive that. If you've given your all on the field and you've prepared well and you've thrown your heart and soul into it, once the game's gone, it's gone, and it was all about relaxing and enjoying yourself and getting on with it, preparing for the next week. I'm considered quite an intense sort of character, and I was probably even worse as a teenager. I was determined to succeed, and I analysed every detail, and I got myself worked up over the little things. And whilst that's good because it's focus and it's about improving and the mindset to be a perfectionist, at the same time it can also be your downfall if you let it get on top of you, and I think I learned to control myself a little bit more when I was out in New Zealand.
Did you meet any All Blacks when you were there, and are they revered in the same way that the perception is over here?
Well, where I stayed and lived is actually just down the road from where McCaw grew up. You know, I went and I've seen all around where he used to live, and there's a racetrack that he used to train on. So I had a little lap round there and did a bit just to get a feel for it. We had a black tie dinner there with the likes of Colin Meads came and spoke. You know, a national hero over there. You know, so it was great to be a part of that and to see what it means to everybody and the turnout that they had, and you know, but also to see those guys so grounded. You know, somebody like Colin Meads, who is an absolute national hero, as I say, would hang around, have a beer with you, be very relaxed, would speak to the likes of me, who's a complete nobody over there, and give you the time of day and just be a normal, very good bloke. And there's a lot to be said for that. I felt I went there a boy, and you know, and I learnt an awful lot, and it's great now to be able to go back and hopefully show what I've become, and you know, hopefully it gives some of the people there that were a part of what I did over there a bit of pride to see me do well, and it would be great to see all their faces and that again.